The Pentagon's most classified psychological warfare program, Project Cognitive Sovereignty, was terminated in 2018, and all research destroyed after scientists discovered that 97.6% of the global population has been systematically stripped of what they termed mental autonomy. The basic human ability to think uninterrupted thoughts for more than 90 seconds. Dr. Elena Vasquez's leaked documents, smuggled out by 31 military psychologists before the program's termination, reveal that every major corporation, government, and technology platform is engaged in what researchers call the Great Cognitive War, a systematic assault on human consciousness designed to fragment attention into exploitable micro-moments that can be monetized, weaponized, and controlled. The classified research exposed 3,247 different attention hijacking protocols being deployed against civilians through what they coded as cognitive warfare infrastructure, a global network of psychological manipulation systems operating through smartphones, social media, advertising, news media, workplace environments, and even educational institutions. But here's what made 12 of the original researchers require permanent psychiatric care. They discovered that attention fragmentation isn't just changing behavior. It's causing irreversible neurological damage they termed cognitive fragmentation syndrome, where the brain literally loses the ability to maintain sustained focus and begins operating in permanent reactive mode, making independent thought physiologically impossible. The leaked data reveals that the average person's consciousness is hijacked 4,847 times per day through precisely timed cognitive interruption strikes, calibrated to occur exactly when the brain begins forming complex thoughts or emotional connections. Right now, as you read these words, multiple AI systems are analyzing your reading patterns, eye movements, heart rate variability, and neural engagement levels to determine the optimal moment to interrupt this thought process and redirect your attention toward profitable distraction. You are not a free-thinking human being. You are a biological attention generation unit, being farmed by entities that have declared war on your cognitive independence. Your mind has been colonized, your thoughts have been commercialized, and your consciousness has been converted into a renewable resource that powers a $47.3 trillion global economy built on mental slavery. In the next 15 minutes, you're going to learn the complete classified attention warfare arsenal being deployed against your consciousness, how to detect when your mind is under active cognitive assault, and most importantly, how to achieve total mental sovereignty and become cognitively untouchable in a world where thinking independently has become the ultimate act of rebellion.
The leaked Pentagon documents reveal 5 primary categories of attention warfare being deployed against civilian populations. Understanding these weapons is the first step toward cognitive liberation. Intermittent reinforcement weaponization operates by delivering unpredictable rewards that hijack your brain's dopamine system. Notifications, likes, messages, and updates are strategically withheld and then delivered at irregular intervals to create psychological dependency. Your brain begins craving the next, quote, hit of stimulation, making focused work or deep thinking feel psychologically painful. Cognitive load overwhelming involves deliberately overloading your mental processing capacity with more information than your brain can handle simultaneously. When your cognitive resources are maxed out, you lose the ability to think critically and begin operating in pure reactive mode. This makes you vulnerable to suggestion, manipulation, and impulse-driven decisions. Attention residue amplification ensures that even when you're not actively engaging with distraction sources, part of your mental bandwidth remains allocated to monitoring for potential interruptions. Brain scans show that people with smartphones nearby show decreased cognitive performance even when the devices are turned off, because their unconscious mind is constantly prepared for interruption. Context-switching acceleration forces your brain to rapidly jump between different types of mental tasks, preventing the deep focus states necessary for complex thinking. Every task switch requires mental energy to reload context, and when switches happen faster than your brain can fully adapt, you enter a permanent state of cognitive fragmentation. Emotional volatility induction deliberately triggers strong emotional states that hijack your prefrontal cortex, the brain region responsible for rational thinking and impulse control. When you're angry, afraid, outraged, or euphoric, you're more likely to make impulsive decisions and less likely to think critically about information you're receiving. These weapons work synergistically. The more fragmented your attention becomes, the more vulnerable you are to each individual technique. It's a downward spiral that leads to what researchers call cognitive dependency syndrome, the inability to think clearly without external stimulation and guidance. Dr. Vasquez's research reveals that sustained exposure to attention warfare creates measurable, long-lasting changes in brain structure and function. The most concerning finding is that these changes can become permanent if exposure continues for more than 18 months. Attention span deterioration shows up in brain scans as decreased white matter density in regions responsible for sustained focus. The average person's ability to maintain attention on a single task has dropped from 15 minutes in 1990 to 40 seconds in 2023. This isn't a natural evolutionary change, it's weaponized cognitive degradation.
Default mode. Network disruption affects the brain's rest state. Normally, when you're not actively focused on something, your brain enters a reflective state that consolidates memories, processes emotions, and generates creative insights. Attention warfare disrupts this process, leaving you unable to process experiences or generate original thoughts. Prefrontal cortex. Suppression reduces activity in the brain region responsible for executive function, critical thinking, and impulse control. Brain scans of heavy digital media users show patterns similar to those seen in addiction, with decreased ability to resist immediate gratification and increased susceptibility to external manipulation. Dopamine system. Dysregulation occurs when your brain's reward system becomes dependent on external stimulation. Natural sources of satisfaction, reading, conversation, nature, creative work, no longer provide sufficient neurochemical reward to hold your attention. You become addicted to artificial stimulation while losing the ability to find meaning in authentic experiences. Stress response. Hyperactivation keeps your nervous system in a constant state of low-level fight-or-flight activation. The continuous micro-stresses of notifications, alerts, and interruptions prevent your brain from entering the calm states necessary for deep thinking, memory consolidation, and emotional regulation. Perhaps most disturbing is the development of cognitive learned helplessness, a condition where people lose confidence in their ability to think independently and become psychologically dependent on external sources for guidance, validation, and decision-making. Reclaiming your cognitive sovereignty requires systematic deprogramming from attention warfare and deliberate reconstruction of your natural focus abilities. This process takes time and conscious effort, but it's entirely possible to restore your mental autonomy. Attention, audit and awareness. Building begins with documenting every interruption you experience for 48 hours. Write down each notification, distraction, task switch, and moment when your attention gets hijacked. This reveals the extent of the assault on your consciousness and helps you identify the primary sources of cognitive warfare in your environment. Interruption. Elimination involves systematically removing or controlling attention hijacking mechanisms. Turn off all non-essential notifications. Remove social media apps from your phone. Establish specific times for checking email and messages. And create physical barriers between yourself and distraction sources. Your environment should support sustained focus rather than fragment it. Deep focus recovery. Training rebuilds your brain's capacity for sustained attention through progressive practice. Start with 15 minutes of uninterrupted focus on a single task, gradually increasing to 90 minutes over several weeks. This neurologically repairs the damage caused by chronic attention fragmentation and restores your natural ability to think deeply. Cognitive sovereignty. Exercises include daily practices that strengthen mental independence. Spend time in nature without devices. Practice meditation or mindfulness. Engage in activities that require sustained attention, like reading books or learning complex skills. And regularly disconnect from all digital stimulation for extended periods. Attention. Diet. Implementation treats your mental input like nutrition. Just as you're careful about what food you consume, become selective about what information, entertainment, and stimulation you allow into your consciousness. Avoid content designed to trigger strong emotional reactions or create psychological dependency. Mental boundary. Establishment involves learning to protect your cognitive space from other people's emergencies, demands, and emotional volatility. Set specific times when you're available for interruption and communicate clearly when you need uninterrupted time for focused work or thinking. The goal isn't to eliminate all stimulation or become antisocial. It's to regain conscious control over your attention, so you can choose when to engage and when to focus based on your own priorities rather than external manipulation. Achieving true cognitive sovereignty means developing the ability to direct your attention consciously rather than having it controlled by external forces. This is both a personal liberation and a form of resistance against systems designed to exploit your mental resources. Independent thought development requires regular practice of thinking without external input. Set aside time daily for what researchers call cognitive solitude, periods when you think through problems, reflect on experiences, and generate ideas without any digital devices, other people, or external stimulation. This rebuilds your capacity for original thinking. Critical analysis. Strengthening involves questioning information sources, examining your own thought processes, and developing immunity to manipulation attempts. When you encounter information designed to trigger emotional reactions, pause and analyze why someone wants you to feel that way and what they gain from your emotional response. Attention sovereignty maintenance means establishing daily practices that keep your cognitive independence strong. This includes regular digital detoxes, mindfulness practices, reading books that require sustained focus, and engaging in activities that develop patience and delay gratification. Mental resilience. Building prepares you to maintain focus even when surrounded by attention warfare. Practice maintaining calm awareness during high stimulation environments. Develop the ability to ignore irrelevant information and strengthen your capacity to return quickly to focused states after necessary interruptions. The ultimate goal is becoming what Dr. Vasquez called cognitively untouchable, someone whose mental clarity and independent thinking cannot be compromised by external manipulation attempts. When you achieve this state, you become immune to most forms of psychological manipulation and gain the ability to think clearly regardless of environmental chaos. This isn't just personal development, it's cognitive rebellion. In a world designed to fragment your attention and harvest your mental energy for profit, the ability to think independently becomes a revolutionary act. Your focused mind is your most powerful weapon against systems that depend on your distraction for their survival. The attention war is real. It's happening right now, and your mind is the battlefield. The question is whether you'll remain an unconscious casualty or become a conscious warrior fighting for your cognitive freedom. The choice to reclaim your mental sovereignty starts with the next thought you choose to think. Will it be yours, or will it belong to someone else's agenda? Your attention is your life force. Protect it like your life depends on it, because it does.